Today, I really could not decide on what to make. So, I have a lot of different ideas in my Pinterest board, and I saved these bell sleeve tops, and I think they look so pretty, especially if they're in green, brown, or blue. It kind of reminds me of a fairy, and I love how flowy the sleeves are. I love the shape of the top. So, part of me was like, you could crochet something like this, but maybe as a mesh top. So I decided to go on a walk so I could let all my creative juices flow and think about how I'm going to execute this style of top in a crochet. For me, going on walks or just sitting in the corner of my room thinking helps ideas come to my head, especially because one of my biggest goals for 2025 is to make clothing, crochet my own clothing, but also make my own patterns, because I have been sewing since I was like 5 years old, and I learnt the way of patterns, how they work, how the different shapes make clothes, and I want to implement that into my crochet because it just adds another element of creativity. Like, you designed that, you made that, and I love the whole process from pen to paper to a wearable outfit. So that's kind of what I wanted to do today, so I can practice, and it is January as well, so we can make our first top made and designed by me today. And I have so many other ideas in my head of certain clothes that I want to make and the complete outfit, so my mind was going crazy whilst on the walk. So after little, I decided on what color that I wanted my top to be, and I wanted it to be baby blue. So we went to go and buy some yarn. I actually live 5 minutes away from a yarn shop, but I decided to go to a charity shop instead because the yarn tends to be a bit cheaper. Like, the yarn that I bought for this project was £1.50 each, which is not bad at all, and I didn't really know how many balls of yarn I needed, so I just bought 4, and maybe I should have bought like 2 at a time because I hate having leftover yarn from another project because I tend to not use it really. And I also needed to make some plushies in a few days, so I went to B&M to buy stuffing, and here is a quick hack for you guys. So I did not live close to a proper craft shop at all. Like, the closest one is like, I don't know, like a 35-40 minute drive from me, and I did not want to go there just to buy stuffing, so I decided to get some pillow liners and then cut them open and then take the stuffing out. And this is a very good hack if you guys do not live next to any craft shop and you want to buy stuffing to make plushies. You can even cut open old pillows or old blankets in your house as well, you know, to reuse and recycle. And of course we had to buy some Pringles. Those are my favorite crisp, and I have my crochet snack ready. Let me just show you a quick overview of what I bought today. So I bought my baby blue yarn. I love this color so much, and I tend to use a lot of pinks and whites, but I want to start adding a bit more color into my wardrobe, so I chose baby blue. And then here we have my pillow liners for my stuffing. And now I am ready to crochet. So here is my plan. It's a very brief plan. It's just like a sketch and a couple notes of how I want this top to turn out. These notes are not professionally done at all. Like, if someone asked me for the pattern for this top and I gave them that piece of paper, I do not think they'll be able to understand it. But I think later on I will refine the pattern so someone can make this top for themselves. Anyways, I do not know how to do a mesh stitch, so I decided to Google that, and I watched a quick video on how to do it. I think I've done it once, but that was almost 2 years ago. And yeah, I started my top with a foundation single crochet. So usually when I crochet, I chain and then do my double crochets, then do my single crochets or treble crochets. But I want to learn faster techniques, especially if I want to start selling products or just making things for myself quicker. And doing a foundation single crochet actually saves a lot of time. It's basically where you just make your single crochets, like you don't chain anything, and you just make that, and that will be your first row. I think I'll do a detailed video on how to do that, but today's video is not really a tutorial, but that is something for you guys to look into. It's really helpful. After I finished that, it measured about 15 inches, which was 60 single crochets, and in those 60 single crochets I could fit 20 mesh stitches, so I did have to do a bit of maths to figure that out. Then I started doing my mesh stitch, which was actually really simple. So I started off by chaining 6 and then skipping 2 stitches and then single crocheting in the 3rd stitch, then chaining 5 and single crocheting in the 3rd stitch, chaining 5 and single crocheting in the 3rd stitch, and I did that all the way along the chain. And then you start each row with a chain 6, and then you just go back to your normal 5 single crochet, 5 single crochet, 5 single crochet, until you work up your whole back panel. So I made my back panel to reach about 18 inches, so it kind of hit my waist, the top, so I think that was a perfect length. This was actually so fun to do because it works up really fast as well, and I could tell that this project is not going to be needing a lot of yarn whatsoever. So yeah, I was just relaxing while making the different pieces of my top, and I've almost finished Gilmore Girls. Season 7 is just so sad. It is so sad, and I'm not going to spoil it for any of you guys who have not watched it yet, but I definitely recommend that you watch it. It's actually really fun, and it's one of those series that you can just watch whenever, because the seasons are so long, all the way from 1 to 7, and then the episodes are almost an hour each, and they have almost 20 episodes in each season. But yeah, it's a nice series to just binge, or it's a nice crochet series. Like, that's my crochet series, but I need to find another one because it's almost finished. Here is the back panel complete, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And then came the difficult part, is trying to make the front of my cardigan. And I was actually kind of nervous to do this. Not the first half, I was more nervous to do the second half because it has to be entirely symmetrical to the first piece. But we went on and we did it. Honestly though, I did not record how I did the first half because I was trying to figure out how to do it myself. So I was like, how can I record when I don't even know what I'm doing? But I'm going to explain to you how I made the first half and how we're going to do exactly the same to the other half. Okay, so basically I started off by making my shoulder panels, and I used about 5 mesh stitches for the width of my shoulders, and I did 7 rounds of that, so just going back and forth in my 5 mesh stitches until it was long enough to drape over my shoulder. And then I realized I need to start increasing somehow. I need to start increasing to make the front kind of go down diagonally like my drawing. So I added 2 increases on the inside of my project, and that made the stitch count 6 instead of 5. And then I did 2 rows of 6 mesh stitches, and then I realized, wait, I need to make at least 10 rows, so it'll be halfway on my cardigan, because the back panel is 20, so to finish the design I need to do 5 for the front and then just repeat down 5 more rows, so the width is 10, so it's half of my back panel. So my other side will also be 10, so it's also half my back panel, so then all the stitches will add up, if that makes sense. So I kept adding increases until I reached a stitch count of 10, which, like I said, is the width of half of my back panel. After I did my 10 stitches, I went ahead and just repeated making rows of 10 until I reached the bottom, and I was really happy with how that turned out. So what I did next was marked the area where I wanted the sleeves to be, and I wanted the sleeves to be 16 stitches, so all the way around, so I think that was a perfect size. So I put a stitch marker there and then just slip stitch from the bottom of the cardigan all the way to the stitch marker where I wanted the sleeves to be. So to make the sleeves, all I did was a couple rounds of mesh stitches until it reached my elbow. So after it reached my elbow, I started adding my increases so I could make my bell sleeves. So what I did was I made a couple rounds of mesh stitches in the sleeve, and my stitch count was 16. So I just carried on repeating rounds of 16 until it reached my elbow. So after it reached my elbow, I began making my increases. So I increased in every single stitch. So that brought my stitch count up to 32. And then I did 2 repeat rounds of 32, so no more increases. Then after those 2 rounds, I increased again, and that brought my stitch count up to 64. And then I just continued working in rounds of 64 until I had the desired length for my sleeve. And I just wanted the sleeve to touch the tip of my wrist. I didn't want it to be too long, but if you want it to be long, you can do as many rounds as you want. And then of course I did exactly the same process to the other side, and then when I was done I fastened off, and this is what the top looks like. Guys, I'm actually so happy with how this turned out. I just think it's so pretty, it's so flowy, and it's exactly what I had in my mind, and the color just does it for me. The color is so beautiful. This would not be ideal for winter, but spring or autumn, I think it'd be a nice thing just to layer over something that you're already wearing. And the sleeves, I'm obsessed with the sleeves. I love the sleeves so much, and I did chain a few just to make a tie in the front of the top, but you can wear it with or without the tie, and I just love it. I love how this turned out. I think it's the perfect length, the sleeves are perfect, and I rarely talk about my work like this, but I really love how this turned out. But honestly, I don't think I'll ever wear it in public, but I love how I made it from scratch, and I'm just really obsessed with how it turned out. Alright guys, that is the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you in the next one.